Hey everyone, Ann O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. It's one of my absolute favorite times of the week because I get to have a chat with very talented folks, and today's guest is no exception. We are welcoming back Andy Tolson, who's been on the show before with his very first debut fantasy novel for young readers, and he has recently launched number 2. So Andy was born and raised in Victoria, BC, but when he was about 18, he moved to London, England to be a drummer. He spent most of the 80s there, had big 80s hair. I would love to see a picture of that, and played in many bands in countless UK pubs, concert halls, and a few stadiums. He toured Europe in a van that smelled like motor oil and gym socks, and he wrote about these experiences in his novel Noisemaker. That's got to be on the TBR pile. I haven't read that one yet. After returning to Canada, he worked as a photojournalist and photography director at Maclean's Magazine and the National Post. In the morning before work, he drank very strong tea and wrote fiction, and in particular, adventure stories for children. He now lives in the Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, in a big old house with his family and 2 cats named Olive and Adeline. He works as a freelance photographer and filmmaker and writes children's books and still drinks very strong tea. Now, his new book, How to Rescue a Unicorn. Look how beautiful is that? And it's the new quest of Tiny Wilde. And I wore my Wild Kingdom stuff in honor of Tiny. So let's bring Andy up here. Oh, and I have this gorgeous bookmark. I love it when there's a bookmark that comes with the book. Let's bring Andy up to congratulate him on his new book.
Hey
Andy, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm just very excited, and as I said, I'm wearing my Wild Kingdom
I love it. I love the leopard skin there.
Thank you. I mean, they're not fantasy creatures in the Wild Kingdom, but these guys, you've got some pretty cool characters in here.
Yeah, some new characters in this book. So this is book 2 of my series. A couple of different characters that go on the quests with Tiny Wilde and his best friend Nalia, and it was so much fun to write. The characters just sort of came to life for me, and it was so much fun putting them all in all sorts of troublesome situations.
Well, and I was talking about the book, and I just finished it today, and there are laugh out loud moments. There's suspense. It's truly the author's or the hero's journey, and you've woven in all of the elements. And I mean, what was it that led you to writing about the hero's journey? Because it's a classic formula in literature.
Well, it is. It kind of, it started obviously, thousands of years ago when they started constructing what stories were. And then in the 1950s, 60s, a man named Joseph Campbell wrote a book called Hero of a Thousand Faces and talked about the hero's journey and how we have these kind of archetypes throughout storytelling, throughout generations. And then a man named George Lucas, who you might remember from Star Wars fame, he specifically used Campbell's writings for the structure of Star Wars, the first Star Wars. So fast forward, a million years to me, when I was first figuring out how to write books, I started getting pretty obsessed with story structure and the inciting incident and the everything that kind of goes into making a story, and started learning more about the hero's journey and applying it to the kind of stories that I was writing. And then when I started the first book in this series, How to Kidnap a Mermaid, I thought, how interesting would it be to actually have the hero's journey itself embedded into the story, and to have these kids working out how to battle a shapeshifter and having a mentor and all the different stages of the hero's journey, it embedded into the quests that they're on. I mean, I did that for two reasons. One, I thought it would be super fun, and two, I wanted kids, when they're reading the book, to have a bit of an understanding about the hero's journey. And when I do school visits, one of the things I talk about is the hero's journey. I talk about, because they all know Star Wars, they all know all those kind of archetypes and things.
Yeah.
And when they start seeing it, when they start understanding that they can create their own stories using the structure of the hero's journey, it really opens up the idea of storytelling for them.
Do you find that when you're talking to kids, they're more intrigued by the villains than the heroes?
Very much so, yeah. So my current presentation is on heroes and villains. It's a lot of fun, and we go through and we talk about Luke Skywalker and Katniss Everdeen and Wonder Woman and all the kind of fabulous heroes, and they love making up their own heroes. That's part of the whole presentation. But when it comes to villains, they really get into it. I even get them to come up to the front of the class and give me their best villain laugh or their best villain cackle. Some of them are a little more embarrassed than others. Some of them really
I love it.
For it. And
oh my goodness.
It. Yeah.
My mom and I used to do our evil laughs. You want to hear mine?
Yes, please.
Ooh,
I'm just getting chills.
How's yours? Do you have one that you like?
I don't really have one. No. I know. I should make one up. Yeah.
Yes. When you're telling the kids to do it, you need to lead by example.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So how did you go from like being a heavy metal drummer to wanting to write for kids? It's quite a departure. Although I can just, I can see like Animal from the Muppets. Like that's kind of the vision I get.
Yeah. I was more. Music and drums have always been a huge part of my life. I started, playing on my bed when I was a kid and listening to records, and it was a huge part of my life. And you know what? There's kind of a structure to music as well. There's a structure to drumming, and there's a rhythm to drumming. I think one of the things I'm thinking about when I'm writing books is rhythm and the way things sound. So it's interesting, now later on, it's interesting to me how music has really played a big role in my writing.
Oh, I love that. And so when you say the rhythm, like, are you talking the sound of the language or the rhythm of the story, the flow of the story, or sort of all of it combined?
I would say all of it. I will often, once I've written a fair amount of a manuscript, I will read it aloud to hear what it sounds like and the way the different beats, like literally the beats go. So if I'm if I'm writing some dialogue, you want maybe there's 2 sentences of dialogue, and then the next person there's 1 sentence, and then the next person there's maybe a half a sentence. It's just
a variation.
The variations, exactly. You start listening to it almost like a piece of music. You're obviously listening for the meaning and everything like that too. But I'm very, very influenced by those kind of writers too, who write with a very kind of very specific beat. Like I love Aaron Sorkin, who wrote The West Wing and numerous movies. I'm a big fan of great dialogue writers. Like Roddy Doyle, the great Irish writer. He's probably one of my favorite writers, and he writes dialogue so beautifully.
And it's you're offering great advice to folks who are new authors or just starting to write. Dialogue can be difficult because it's hard to make it sound natural. And really the only way to know if it's natural is by reading it out loud or even having somebody else read it out loud, right? So, and this kind of segues nicely into writing in the voice of, a young giant. So I'm assuming he's, in junior high, Tiny. And
he's probably it's middle grade. It's specifically middle grade. So he's in middle school. So right now he's about grade 7.
Okay,
He's
excellent.
12 years old. Yeah.
Look how cute is he?
Oh,
So
he's the one down. No, he's the one
oh
down
no,
running.
wait, no,
Yeah,
Tiny's down here. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So this must be Super Skull, is it?
Yes. Super.
Okay. So where do you get your names for these characters? Like, does it just fly
Well,
into
I
your
know
head?
it kind of does. I know that
Mm.
sounds really unsatisfying, but they
No,
honestly,
I love it.
I kind of play with the names a little bit, and they just
Yeah,
sort of come to me. I mean, certainly for Tiny, I
yeah.
thought it would. I thought kids would love it, and they, if there was a giant named Tiny,
A
right?
giant named
Uh,
Tiny. Oh, I love
yeah,
this.
and that
Yes.
also that he hasn't had his growth spurt yet, right? So,
Oh.
and I never explain in the stories, and I'm not even sure I will, why he's called Tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
and kids
No, I
always
don't.
ask me that. They say, "Why is he called Tiny? Why is he called Tiny?" And I have to say, you decide.
Right. Well, he's tiny compared to his dad, Gregor.
He is. Yes.
And you know what? There's always hope for poor Tiny to have a growth spurt. But his mom was a human,
Yeah.
so perhaps that might have fed into it. So even so, then you're also talking about mystics, like so you're in the
Mythics, you mean?
fantastical mythics. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. You're in the fantastical world. It's giants and pixies. And we for those of us who love that fantasy world, and I grew up reading Dragon Riders of Pern, and like I love dragons.
Yeah.
But those are like getting into not only the mind of a 12-year-old, but into the mind of a nasty pixie, or a river witch.
Mhm.
And where did the river witch idea come from? I know that just threw like four questions at you, but let's hone in on the river witch and her state of mind.
Well, the River Witch, I wanted. So in my books, there's the Witch of the Woods who has created all these mythical creatures,
Mhm.
and she's a bit flighty, a bit flaky, and very ego driven. But
I love it.
I also wanted somebody else to be a sort of another mysterious figure, but to be um, more of a counterpart
Hmm.
to the Witch of the Woods. So her
Hmm.
sister is the River Witch, and she's quite mysterious.
Hmm.
And the way that the kids travel a lot, which is very difficult in a middle grade book, is how do you get kids from from point A to point B? Well, they travel inside her stomach. Um,
Right, right, right. Otherwise, they're in a dumpster with the gnomes.
Yes, yeah, or they travel around in a dumpster as well. So yeah, with the River Witch, I wanted a sort of almost a sort of matriarchal figure that wasn't quite matriarchal, that was maybe kind of scary,
Hmm.
but also had a really strong heart as well.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, there are no spoilers here, but I do love her evolution as well and learning about it. And
Yeah.
again, not to spoil anything, you have some serious themes in these books. And I mean, a hero's journey is always, good versus evil. Well, not always, but
Mhm.
there's conflict and all that kind of stuff. But there's a little nod toward taking care of our environment. And I understand that you're a lover of the water. You love to swim.
Mhm.
So how important is that message to you?
Well, it was. I never would want to kind of hit my readers
No.
over the head with a message. This is a
Mhm.
great moral. I mean, my stories are exciting adventures, and my main purpose of writing them is to get kids excited about writing. So I want to write a real page turner that they're just
Mhm.
going to not be able to put down and just be excited about writing. But
Mhm.
if there are other messages in there about friendship and about family and about the environment, well, that's great too.
Mhm.
I think I would hope that when you're writing these things, they work on different layers. But
Mhm.
certainly it made sense because they travel through a lot of sewers and pollution and things like that. And um, you know, these are smart kids, and they need to be aware of their environment and what's kind of going on around them. And also they're heroes too, so they want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that would kind of inspire kids a little bit, if that's something that they would want to take on themselves.
Absolutely. I really relate to Tiny on so many levels, but the main thing is that grilled cheese sandwiches are like my absolute favorite food. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like, yay, Tiny. So can you read a little excerpt for us?
absolutely. Yes. Okay. So we'll read, this is chapter 1 of How to Rescue a Unicorn.
Okay.
Well, I always start these off with a fun fact. Fun fact: a pixie's wings flutter 1,000 times a minute, faster than the eye can see. They're the fastest mythics by far. Giants, not so much. We're slow. You should see me trying to get out of bed in the morning. Not exactly a speed demon. So Jeremy Tufnell should have easily avoided my swerving and sluggish punch. Instead, he now rubbed his bloody nose wide-eyed with surprise that I'd hit him. That made 2 of us. I'd never hit a human kid, let alone the biggest bully at Wonderville Middle School. Knuckles sore, my knees shaking, I held tight onto my plastic lunchbox. Every day since school started last month, Jeremy had demanded food from me. I wasn't crazy about having my face rubbed in playground dirt, so I always handed over my lunch. Not today. I wasn't protecting my usual grilled cheese sandwich and random sliced veggies. Today, I was protecting the most powerful creature on the face of the earth. 10, maybe 15 kids had gathered on the basketball court behind the band building to watch the action before the first bell, already chomping on their recess snacks. A scrawny 6th grader in saggy gym shorts watched for roaming authority figures. Jeremy shook off my punch and smeared his red hands on his cargo shorts. Nobody hits me and gets away with it. He'd grown a little over the summer. His voice had gotten lower, and he growled and snorted like an animal hungry for a kill. My summer had been busy, mostly trying to stay alive, and battling bullies much deadlier than Jeremy. That sounds dramatic, but I'd been on a legendary quest to return the stolen magic to the mythical creatures of Wonderville. So yeah, busy. I circled Jeremy, my sneakers scuffling the concrete. I raised one fist like some old-timey boxer. Is that all you've got, Tiny? Jeremy snarled, adding a smirk. Jeremy was so feared that no one dared to call him names or make fun of his flippy-floppy blonde hair. No one had ever actually hit him before, except me. A hero is supposed to act like, well, a hero. Fearless, valiant, gutsy. So why was my heart slamming against my chest, and why did I feel like running home and hiding under my bed covers? Maybe I didn't have this hero thing figured out.
Hang on. Yay! I was just looking in my bookshelf for my how to kidnap a mermaid, so I could hold them up together because they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna I'll share the your website so that people can see how beautiful. So here's the newest, and also share the website address. Pretty easy, andytolson.com. And look at that. There's a buy button right there for you when you want to get your. But having like both is just, look how gorgeous is that, right? So you need to have book 1 and book 2. I would say they are standalone, right? So you don't have to read one before the other. Is that intentional, Andy?
Very much intentional, because kids, they'll see a book and they'll just want to start reading it, and so they don't want to go back and figure out everything that happened in book 1. I really tried hard to make book 2 a standalone. If you just read it on its own, and then hopefully they would go back and read book 1. But
Mhm.
when I'm talking to kids who are asking about my books, I always encourage them to read book 1 first and then move on to book 2, because there is an arc, and the
Yes.
arc continues into book 3 as well too.
And kids can be very loyal, like, the
Yeah,
the kids who read Paw Patrol and then, SpongeBob and,
exactly.
all of the, what do you call it? Wimpy Kids, the Wimpy Kid's Diary of a
Yeah,
Wimpy Kid. And
yeah,
once they read one, they're hooked. And of course, their
yeah.
friends, "Oh my gosh, you have the next one? Like, wait, can I borrow it? No, wait, mom, I want it for Christmas."
One of the most gratifying things has been, at my signings, is having kids, come who have read book 1 and want to, read book 2 and have book 2 signed, and
Yeah.
we talk about the different characters or what are their favorite characters. And it's probably the best part of this job.
I love that. I love that. And the one of the sort of underlying characters is this little guy in the cup, the
The
octopus,
immortal octopus. Yes.
immortal octopus. And
Yes.
he has such a huge role to play, but he's this diminutive little
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Here he is here.
Oh, look.
This is the
Oh,
original. This is the octopus that I got the idea from. I don't know where I got
wow.
this from. It just sort of appeared years ago, and I thought, okay, what's the most ridiculous thing to make the most powerful creature on Earth?
An
And there he is.
octopus. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, and the petrified onion ring, like, where'd that come from?
Well, I love onion rings,
Okay.
and and I'm also trying to put food into my books as well too, because
Mhm.
who doesn't love to eat? Kids love to eat, and this is
Like I
why
said, grilled cheese sandwich.
grilled cheese sandwiches, I mean, they're also something that a kid can relate to,
Yes,
so and they're
right.
kind of ridiculous too. I mean, a petrified onion ring, which plays a significant role in the book,
Mhm, mhm.
it just, I don't know, it just seemed funny to me.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, I'm gonna show a picture of you in one of your, school visits, and then I want you to tell us which character is most mentioned by the kids
Which characters most mentioned?
as their favorite.
I would say probably Tiny. I think the main
Okay.
character. Yep, Tiny or Nalia, which
Mhm.
obviously is his best friend and
Yeah.
sidekick.
I was
Um,
happy to see her back.
yeah, actually, I shouldn't call her sidekick. She'd hate it if I called her sidekick.
Oh, I
So
know she
she
would.
is, yeah, she was definitely a huge hero herself, and she saves Tiny's butt, more times than he would care to acknowledge. But they are best friends,
Yep.
and I really wanted to delve into this idea of these two kids who had been through a lot together and
Mhm.
have still remained friends.
Yeah. And now if there are any teachers watching and they would like to have you come and speak to their class, how do they go about doing that?
Well, just go to my website. There's a school visits tab. Everything is done through the Writers Federation of Nova Scotia. They have an
Okay.
amazing program called the Writers in the School program. So
Mhm.
you can book myself or many other authors. Yeah, you're okay yourself. Yeah,
Yep.
through the Writers in the School program. It's an incredible program, and I did a bunch of schools last year, and I've got a bunch
Nice.
more. I've got a couple in December and then a whole bunch in the fall. Um,
Fabulous.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
great. And what's your most favorite thing about school visits?
I think I love reading to the kids. So once we've gone through the heroes and villains presentation, you know, they're a bit exhausted because I've got them up front of the class and talking about the heroes and villains, and they're kind of pretty tired. So that's when I take the last 15 minutes and I'll maybe read the first chapter or so of
Mhm.
book 1 or maybe book 2, and they just kind of flop down and they just love listening to somebody read them a story, you know. And usually at the end of it, they want more.
Mhm.
Exciting, but sometimes the bell rings, or we have to move on to to the next class. But
Right.
I
It never gets old. I was a preschool teacher many
yeah,
moons ago, and story time was always our
yeah,
favorite time. And
yeah.
it's always fun. I was with my great nephews last night, and like next thing you know, you've got a couple of kids on your lap and you're reading to them.
Oh, it's so great.
It's
Yeah.
the best. It's the best. And so if there's somebody watching right now and they have it in their mind they want to write a kid's book, what's the first thing you would tell somebody who wants to write a children's book?
I would say read tons of children's books. Read. I mean, there's so many great children's books out there. We kind of are, a bit of a golden age, I think, of
Mm,
children's books. There's everything from, really kind of dark children's books to, whimsical, lighthearted. You know, there's books about families. There's books about life and about death. There's
mhm.
everything. So really just read really, really widely. I try to read. I mean, you can see my bookshelves at the back there. This is,
Chock full.
chock full. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're going to be a writer in general, you need to read tons. You have to love, reading.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't, right? And of
Yeah.
course, I'm going to say read The
Oh, thank you.
Adventures of Tiny Wilde.
Yeah.
And um, just let's do a shout out to the illustrator.
Yeah, so that's Garth Laidlaw.
Hmm.
He is an illustrator here in Annapolis Royal, where I live. We're
Hmm.
friends.
Hmm.
And it just so happened when Nimbus were asking about possible cover designers, I mentioned Garth, and they looked at his work and loved it. And so he's been a huge part in the design of the characters and the covers themselves. And I've got such great feedback from them. So he's an animator and also he teaches animation
Hmm.
online. So Garth Laidlaw, the animation tutor, is his.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Oh, I can
yeah,
see this as an animated series, and I just thought I'd scroll through and show
yeah,
some of these spot illustrations,
yeah,
just to give you an idea. I mean, the gorgeous unicorn,
yeah,
and look how fun is he?
yeah.
Is that Podge or is
That's
this?
that's Podge,
It is
yes,
Podge. Okay,
the
yeah,
gnome and the mentor.
he was one of my favorites. Um, so yeah, I mean, we really, I bow to people who have that kind of creative talent,
Yeah, me
authors
too.
such as yourself, and the people who do the pictures, because it's a different creative strength.
Well, it's. I mean, even though I've written this book, there's so many other people who are involved. My fabulous editor at Nimbus, Claire Bennett,
Hmm.
and everybody at Nimbus who have supported it
Hmm.
and been behind it, and Garth, doing the covers, and some of the people who have beta read the book for me as well too. So it's, even though my name is on the cover, there's so many other people involved too. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that I would tell writers is that, get your work in front of, other writers and see what they
Yeah.
think, and develop a thick skin.
And that's wonderful advice. And Andy, to be quite honest, is one of the reasons why I started doing the author journey, because I want people to see the breadth of creative talent that goes into the process. And the
Yeah.
front facing person, the author, there's a lot of people like buoying them up from, like you said, the beta readers, the editors, the designers, the publishers, the marketers. And I mean, we could go
Yeah.
on and on, because that's a whole
Yeah.
other ball of wax.
Yeah.
And yes, your publisher is Nimbus, also here in Halifax,
Yeah.
Nova Scotia. And have you got any final words of wisdom other than, read
Well,
lots?
book 3 in the series, How
Yes,
to Wrestle an
thank you.
Octopus, comes out next year. And Tiny and the gang go on another quest, or is it a quest?
Mm,
And it's I just handed in the finalish edit to my editor, and I don't want to see the manuscript ever again, of course, because
You're right.
I'm sick of it. But after 6 weeks after she's kind of looked through it, I will come back at it at fresh eyes. But it was so much fun to write as well, and I was so glad to be able to continue with these characters into the third book.
Well, I'm excited for it. As I said, laugh out loud, funny in some parts, and a little bit of suspense that builds up on this quest, not quest. Will he rescue the unicorns? Is he going to be stuck in that? Well, and again, no spoilers, but I truly, it was a page turner, and I can certainly understand why kids are just clamoring to get the latest How to Rescue a Unicorn.
Great. Yeah.
By Andy. And it's so fun to have you back. And I love your writing area there. And it's just a pleasure to chat.
Thanks, Anne. Yeah, had a lot of fun.
All right. And hopefully we'll get you back next year when How to Wrestle an Octopus comes out.
That's right. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye. And thank you for joining us on the author journey today, and where we learned more about Tiny Wilde's adventures from author Andy Tolson. I'm Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing, and I hope you're reading a great book, and we'll see you next time on the author journey. Bye for now.